There we go.
It still says offline. Is it now?
Nope, it's live.
We're live.
All right. Hello. My name is Brittney Eagan, and I am in Portland, Oregon right now on the West Coast. And the leadership style that I related to the most and thought was the most productive was the Democratic. Kind of obviously, probably everyone did. The qualities that I think make a good leader are someone who facilitates a conversation without trying to take control of everything. Like, you still need to be able to listen and accept feedback and constructive criticism and give feedback, rather than the, like, I can never say it, laissez-faire. But you should be able to make suggestions and give like positive reinforcement. And I think that makes a good leader, somebody who listens and leads equally. Let's hear from Paul.
Hey, thanks, Brittney. I kind of like you. I guess I'll introduce myself first. I'm over in Lexington, Kentucky. I work at TQL in the logistics field. And I think what makes a good leader is just good communication, good communication skills, and someone that leads by example. Also, I look for kind of somebody that's definitely reliable and trustworthy, and just someone that's real knowledgeable and knows what's going on and has a good vision for the project. Kind of a bad leader, somebody that's just a micromanager. I think somebody mentioned this before. They're just out for themselves, and they don't want to necessarily give anybody else credit. And also, like what Brittney said, I also agree that the Democratic leadership style I think is the best and the one I agree with most. And I just think that's more of a cultural thing, as far as how we work, I guess, here in the U.S. Because I know, like other countries, they would be more comfortable with the authoritarian. I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, I appreciate it, and that's all I have. So,
Kathryn, let's hear from you.
So I'm in Southwest Virginia. I'm a shift supervisor with Starbucks. So I am kind of placed in that leadership role a lot. I kind of resonate with the Democratic leadership style most just because of my position, but also I think it mixes with my personality well. I like to understand both sides, which for me is one of the qualities of a leader that I think is important, because if you don't understand your staff or other leaders among you, you can't grow and you can't lead. And you can't help others come up with you. And tying into that, you need drive to push yourself, but also your team to get results, but also to like make them the best people that they can be. I'm really about like making sure that like if there's an opportunity for someone to grow in a leadership style or even just like in a personal experience, like as a leader, how do I channel that for them? So the big thing is like, for a leader, you really just have to like, it's not just about you. It's about the team and the individual people that make up the team, because they each have different strengths. And that's what makes them leaders, hopefully, eventually, because that's how you got there, hopefully. So that's what I think.
Thanks, Kathryn. What about you, Jennifer?
So I'm Jennifer Jones, and I am in Sacramento, California. I'm a store manager for Starbucks. And I resonate obviously with the Democratic as well. But there are times I think that the authoritarian piece comes out just a little bit when things just aren't up for discussion, which happens. And some of the qualities that I think make a good leader is just somebody who can listen. They're just really receptive to feedback. They ask their team for feedback, and actually listen to their feedback, not just think that their way is best. Somebody who can instill trust in their team so that your followers just really have that trust in you. Something that, like, from the lecture, it talked about how you manage things, but you lead people. And I thought that that was just so true. You think like, oh, you're a manager, that's your job, but really you manage things, and you want to lead your people and you want them to follow you. And also just somebody who inspires their team to do better. For me, even if it's not doing better within Starbucks, like I just want my team to do better as a whole, like for themselves. And so just having that for your team and just being like, whoever you are and how you act is just what you're about, like not putting up a front. And so that way your team can really just see who you are and really choose to follow you.
That's awesome. Alrighty. Anna.
All right, so I'm training to become an ASM with Starbucks. I'm in California, and I also resonate. I think it's a Starbucks thing too, but just in general, the democratic. But I do admit I sometimes have laissez-faire tendencies because I am not as assertive as some other people are sometimes. And so I tend to focus on what I think are good leadership skills are having open two-way communication, giving good positive feedback, but then also delivering negative feedback in a good way that's going to be receptive to people, and being able to flex your style when you need it. I also think good leadership skills involve trying to understand the other person, where they're coming from. And like you're saying, because you're managing things and not people, treating people not as a resource and not like a tool that you're using. And I think that's what I think is a good leader.
Awesome. Do you want to tell what you think is kind of like a poor leader as well? I know Paul gave us his, but then we can go around and each say as well.
Yeah. For me, poor leadership qualities, I would say poor listening skills. Because if you don't listen to other people and you're not willing to hear them out, you're going to miss out on good opportunities. Selfishness, kind of being out for yourself. And I think also, when you dominate the interaction, when it's all about you, and the use of just punishing people when they don't do what you want, I think those are some poor qualities in a leader.
Totally. Awesome. Somebody said something and I really wanted to piggyback on it. Oh, I love how you said flexing to a different type of leadership, because that's such a Starbucks thing.
Yeah.
Starbucks person for like 8 years too. As far as poor leadership skills, I wrote down that being like avoidant. I've had bosses who are super avoidant of like any type of conflict or anything, and it's hard to get things done. People who give super ambiguous directions, anything offensive or like that's going to get people defensive, just you are just on a poor foot kind of already if you approach it that way. And being like superficial or non-committal were the other things, where you're just kind of trying not to get like stuck and like committing to doing anything. I've worked with people like that and it's just frustrating. Yeah, that's my poor leadership skills, not mine. Hopefully. Kathryn, what do you think are some poor leadership skills?
Kind of tying in with you and Anna, not listening. That is a big one for me. I feel like sometimes if someone doesn't listen to what I have to say, or even sometimes when I don't listen, I'm like, wow, that was really shisty. But I think too, in a way, like, I mean, I have the textbook open and I'm just looking at something that says like avoiding conflict. I feel like as a good leader, you need that little bit of conflict. You need that little bit, because you can learn so much from those instances, but then you can grow through them too. So that way, like, it becomes a natural habit to like, no, I really want to get into this with you, not because I'm mad at you, but because I want to solve it. And I really want to like learn from it. but kind of tying in like selfishness, out for yourself, lack of direction. Like there has to be a plan, and it can't be just to benefit yourself. It has to benefit the team or the store or the shift or the people in your company or your department. And it has to be productive. I think the big word is that if you're not productive in any shape or form, you really don't have good leadership skills. I mean, you can be productive, but how you go about being productive is what I think makes you a poor leader. If you're not really focused on what the actual task is or the people involved and worrying about how it affects those people. And if you're worried about yourself, it's not good leadership at all.
Awesome. So we are just about at the 11-minute mark. So Jennifer, you can probably close us out with what you think poor leadership skills would be.
Perfect.
Anywhere between 2 and 4 minutes.
You have the floor.
So some of the poor leadership skills, I think, like everyone else has said, is just not listening or not actively listening. Just you're there, you're kind of nodding your head, but you're not really paying attention. Some of the power wielders, people who are really just out for themselves and who don't give credit where credit is due to their team. And then something else that somebody touched on was about like giving negative feedback. And while that can be hard, I think if you don't give it, it also makes you a poor leader because feedback is best when shared and given to that person. And so even if it makes you uncomfortable, it's something that you have to do as a leader. So people who don't hold that feedback, it would be a negative quality for me. And then just kind of letting those environmental factors get in the way, like the pressures of the goals and things, and just putting your team into a threat state, like you have to do this or you're going to lose your job. And that's not really motivating to your team. And so I would say that that's a poor leader. I don't know if I'm good on time or if I need to keep going.
Oh, we're awesome. We are just a couple seconds away from being at 12 minutes. So just to like close out, I think everybody had really fantastic ideas, and the active listening thing is so huge. We like teach that to our preschoolers. Like, you're not showing me you're listening with your body. Like, we teach them what full body listening means because they'll just like lay on their back and like look at me like that. And, like, are you full body listening to me right now?
We all kind of do that at some point, and it's not just preschoolers.
And it sucks too because then you realize you actually hear like or absorb what someone was saying. That's happened in lectures all the time where you're like, oh my God, what did they just talk about for the last 5 minutes? I have no idea. But anyway, this was awesome. It was really nice to like officially meet you guys for our first discussion. We can go off live now.
All right, and